The Tennessee Titans are taking on the Baltimore Ravens this week in the Week 1 preseason game. So you know what we're doing around here? We're going to make sure that we not only take them down on the field, but we're going to take them down on YouTube as well. So as you can see, we're in a sub-battle with our Ravens Rundown channel here at Chat Sports, and we got a comfortable lead. But I know this, I'm not going to sit on that lead. Let's continue to dominate them. Hit that subscribe button, send this video to some Titans fans, and let's take these guys down on the field and on YouTube. You're watching Titans Today. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and coming up on today's show, we're going to go through some news and rumors, but especially some trade rumors around the Chicago Bears because Roquan Smith, he wants to be let go, so I'm going to give you guys a trade idea that has come from a Bears insider. We're also going to look at Teven Jenkins, an offensive tackle for Chicago, because he's been linked to the Tennessee Titans. And then at the end, I essentially picked out 5 important things that Jeremy Fowler said because he was at Titans training camp. 5 things that he noted, that he said, that I think all y'all should know. So the first thing is this. Roquan Smith, one of the best young linebackers in the National Football League, has requested a trade for the Chicago Bears. Anytime something like this happens, there should be a little light bulb that goes off in your head and it goes, could the Titans trade for fill in that player here? Especially when you look at the fact that he is a good young player. He's in the NFC. If I was the Bears, I wouldn't want to trade him to another NFC opponent. So, okay, extra advantage here to Tennessee. And from a numbers standpoint, last season, 163 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 3 sacks and interception. In 2020, 139 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. Since the day he was drafted back in 2018, this guy has been a tackling machine, and he's put up some very, very impressive numbers. So in terms of, okay, does it make sense to go out and get Roquan? Personally, for me, I can make an argument for yes. I can make an argument for no. But we asked Harrison Graham, who runs our Bears show around here, and I said, Harry, give me a trade idea for the Titans to get Roquan Smith. He said he believes that Chicago would want a second and a third-round pick in 2023. Now, Chat Sports is all about letting y'all know what we think about stuff like this, but we want to know from all of you, who wins that trade? Do you think it's the Chicago Bears? If so, type B. If you think it's the Tennessee Titans, type T. Not that I don't value Smith. For me personally, the Bears win that trade. I'm not going to give up that much. Roquan is a good player. There are some people that would probably put him up in the top 5 linebackers. I'm not going to do that because there is one thing that I always think is important. Yes, guys can get a lot of tackles. That doesn't always mean that they're an effective player. It kind of reminds me a few years ago, and I always go back to this, but remember when Kevin Love used to be on the Timberwolves and he used to put up all these crazy numbers? It's because nobody else was really there on the roster. I think sometimes the reason why Roquan puts up these sick numbers is because the last 2 years for Chicago, there hasn't really been all that great in terms of production. On top of that, I'm not going to give up that type of draft capital for a position that I'm not really sitting here saying, you know what, that's a major need for the Titans, and I value linebackers the way I value running backs. Unless you're a King Henry, I ain't breaking the bank for you. I mean, look at some of these numbers here from PFF. A 47.8 overall grade, but he had 163 tackles, Mitch. You're right. Again, you got to look at it as the entire picture. He wasn't good against the run. He was bad against the pass. Yes, he's good in coverage, and I want my linebackers in today's NFL to actually be better against coverage. But Roquan, even with all those tackles, he had a lot of missed tackles. Heck, let's go back to 2020. Yes, technically, according to PFF, had a better year. Still not good against the run. Really good against the pass. Amazing against coverage. These are all good numbers. But for how much the Bears are going to want for him, I'm sorry. It's too much for a linebacker. It's not the move that I'm going to make. It's not the move that I think makes sense for Tennessee, because not only are you going to have to give up draft capital, you also got to pay him. Like, he wants to get paid. That's why he's having all these arguments with Chicago. And when I think of Darius Leonard, I'm sorry, him and Roquan aren't in the same world to me. He's going to want something like C.J. Mosley, Fred Warner type of dollars. He's not Fred Warner. I don't even know if he was C.J. Mosley when C.J. Mosley was 100% healthy. So you got to give up draft capital, and then on top of that, you're probably going to have to pay him over $17 million a year. All of those reasons are why I'm saying no, it doesn't make sense to trade for Roquan Smith. Coming up next here on Titans Today, let's talk about another Bears player. It's Teven Jenkins, because he has also been linked to a lot of trades out there, and I recently saw he was linked to the Titans. I'll tell you about that story, but first, football's back, and I'm ready to put my money where my mouth is. And if y'all are ready too, take advantage of the best betting deal on the internet. If you don't believe me, I always tell people this, I challenge you to find a better deal. I challenge you to find a better place out there that gives you 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? It means if you put down $100, BetUS is going to give you $125 for free to bet with. All you got to do, you have to go to this link here, and you have to use promo code CHAT125. Does that make sense? Because I don't know about y'all, I love putting money down, even if it's on a preseason game. And when you look at the preseason Week 1 odds, the Titans are underdogs by 3.5 points. The over-under in this one is 31.5. You get $125 free dollars anyway. Put down $10 on Tennessee to win. Bet the over, bet the under, do whatever you want to do. I guarantee it makes that preseason game a lot more entertaining. If you're like, Mitch, I don't want to bet on the preseason. All right, I'm not going to hate on you too much, right? Well, what about this? Titans odds. If you bet on the Titans right now to win the AFC, which I believe if Derrick Henry is healthy, absolutely a possibility. If you put down $10 on the Titans to win the AFC, and they do, you win $140. What happens at plus 3,000 odds for them to win the Super Bowl? If you put down 10, then you win $300. Sounds like pretty good. This is a good way to turn $20 into $440. If Derrick Henry's healthy, if Ryan Tannehill, it sounds like still playing pretty well at practice, does all this, you guys are going to make some money. JatSports.com/bet, promo code JAT125. Let's talk about Teven Jenkins now. Offensive tackle for the Bears, drafted number 39 overall last year. Chicago is looking to move on from him. Jenkins doesn't want to be there anymore. And according to Chicago Sports News, they thought that Tennessee made some sense. Their reasoning, well, because the Titans have a need at right tackle, which I can agree with. I also don't 100% agree with. I like Dillon Radunz personally when he first came out of North Dakota State. I thought he was going to be a lot better. Maybe he got thrown into the fire. A lot of injuries last season for Tennessee, especially on the offensive line. But you also drafted Nicholas Petit-Frere out of Ohio State. Petit-Frere is a player who I don't think is actually ready to go quite yet. But if you have a chance to upgrade over Dillon Radunz, personally, I think you should do it. So what about this? Here's a trade idea that I'm going to throw out to y'all. The Titans get Teven Jenkins, who lined up as a left tackle last season. I'm telling y'all, he's a right tackle. The Bears get Dillon Radunz. And if you're wondering why does that make sense, Jenkins is a right tackle. Radunz, to me, is a better interior offensive lineman than he is a tackle. And Chicago has a need for interior linemen. So who wins this deal right now? Type TEN for the Titans. Or if you think it's the Chicago Bears, then I want you to type CHI. Realistically, I can make an argument for both teams, but for Tennessee, I think this is a good trade for them. Yes, you're swapping linemen, but Teven Jenkins' best attribute when he was coming out of Oklahoma State, he was a mean mother effer, and he was somebody that he wanted to run block, and he wanted to beat you up. That sounds like everything that I look for in a Titans offensive lineman. Hell, that's what Mike Vrabel looks for. They want to look for a mean dude who's going to put your face into the dirt and he's going to teabag you as Derrick Henry runs 80 yards down the field. That's why I think that trade makes some sense. And personally, if I was the Titans, I would try to make a move for Jenkins because I do not think it would cost very much. All right, y'all, coming up next here on Titans Today, let's look at some training camp notes. I love rumors, don't get me wrong, but the preseason's here, and I want to be looking at some of those training camp rumors that all y'all need to see. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you here at Chat Sports. We call the people that watch our videos, especially in the offseason, but watch near the end, y'all are the real ones around here. So if you're a real one, a real Titans fan, spam real one in the comments. Let's go through some of these training camp notes now. Robert Woods on track for Week 1. Oh, thank the Lord, man. I got Robert Woods in a Dynasty League. And I always get worried about doing Dynasty Leagues because, you know, how long they go. But it does sound like he's on track to play Week 1. He's a phenomenal route runner. He's going to be your number one wide receiver in this offense. You just got to hope that that ACL is 100% ready to go. Speaking of being ready to go, it looks like Ryan Tannehill's looking good. And this isn't like the normal July, August, everybody's in the best shape of their life looking good. Jeremy Fowler straight up said, Ryan Tannehill looks good, and he probably looks good because he's motivated. He knows his job's on the line. He knows that Tennessee drafted Malik Willis at number 84 overall, or 86, whatever the heck it was, in the third round, and they know that that's the plan. But guess what? If Tannehill goes out there and balls, makes a deep playoff run, it's going to be a lot more difficult to put Malik Willis out there. What about the Titans preserving Derrick Henry? Good. They should. Now, I feel bad I've been watching all these videos of these coaches with, like, the long pole, and there's, like, a helmet on the end of it, and Derrick Henry's just stiff-arming the crap out of him. That's a tough job to have. But we know what Derrick is. We know that he's one of the best, if not the best, running back in the league. And if he's healthy at the end of the season, that's what matters the most, because I wouldn't want to tackle Derrick in August, September. I definitely wouldn't want to tackle him in December and January when it's freezing cold out. That I know for a fact. The next thing, Kyle Phillips, the hype continues. If you're looking for a late-round sleeper in fantasy drafts, Kyle Phillips is a guy. Yes, he is listed as the wide receiver 4 in the depth chart, but he's been working with the first team. He's also been working a little bit with the second team, but he's lining up in the slot. I think Ryan Tannehill loves slot receivers personally. Also, he's listed as the starter for punt returns. That's a good sign for Kyle Phillips, who continues to improve. And if you have a lot of question marks around Treylon Burks, what happens if the second most targets go to Phillips? Okay, a lot of value there. Last thing we're going to hit on here is Roger McCreary, going to earn a starting spot. Fowler could not say enough nice things about the rookie out of Auburn here, drafted in the second round. My biggest thing when I watched McCreary coming out of Auburn was this guy he's a battler. He was a war eagle, right? He was somebody who was going to go out there and compete. That's what Mike Vrabel's looking for on his team, and because of that, he's going to earn himself a spot, which I do think is pretty impressive considering the fact you got a lot of good young corners on the Tennessee Titans.